The SPCA has today released a list of the 10 most shameful cases of animal abuse they've seen this year. Now, a warning, as the SPCA CEO Andrea Midgen told me, the details of this cruelty and the penalties that accompany the abuse are disturbing.
So many of them are absolute cruelty. They're not just someone neglecting or perhaps being ignorant about something. They're actually done some acts that amount to cruelty. And, you know, chopping off a cat's ears, leaving a dog tied up with no food or water, leaving a dog tied up so that it ends up with a huge collar wound and then hiding it from the children knowing that it actually wasn't right. I mean, these are just acts of people that just don't have a conscience.
Yes. I mean, the cutting off the cat's ears, it does look like scissors were used to simply remove the tips of Pippi's ears. I mean, that's the act of a psychopath, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's the most disturbing thing about this year's list of shame, is that there seems to be more cases of that kind of cruelty than what we've seen in the past.
So previously you were seeing neglect that was exacerbated and neglect was added, and the animals were treated cruelly by omission almost?
Yes, yeah. Whether it's just through ignorance and not understanding about animals. You know, this whole concept of animals as sentient beings is still not fully understood across New Zealand.
Opal, who was really ill-treated very badly, but was just basically left and neglected, and just his owner clearly didn't give a damn about him. That only got 3 months imprisonment, and of the 10 cases, I think 3 of the owners or the people responsible for the cruelty were sent to prison. This is increasingly being used by judges, isn't it?
It is, and it's good in one way. My concern is that just going to prison doesn't necessarily change behaviour. And what we're trying to promote more is that we get some more psychological assessment, psychiatry assessments, what have you done for these people, and support, because often there's mental illness involved in these acts of cruelty.
Yes, the guinea pigs and the rabbits, just appalling. I mean, they were left to live in their own feces, they weren't being fed, there was no water, there was overcrowding. Now that person was disqualified for owning animals for 20 years. And that is salutary at every level, isn't it? Because it reminds us that owning animals comes with responsibility.
Absolutely, and we were thrilled with that outcome because, again, getting people disqualified from owning animals is still quite difficult for us to do, and judges are only just looking at previous cases and starting to use that as a tool. But obviously if someone actually doesn't know how to take care of an animal, just going to prison or doing some community hours is not going to change that. Yeah,
I'm looking at Brownie. This is an appalling case. The man attempted to kill Brownie by hitting her on the head 3 times with a hammer. Even though he knew she was badly injured, he chained Brownlee up in a small area by the side of his garage with no adequate food, shelter, water. He later left her there until the SPCA was alerted 2 days later. He was sentenced to 9 months imprisonment and disqualified for owning dogs for 10 years. On the face of it, trying to beat a dog to death with a hammer, is 9 months enough?
No, it's never enough. It's never enough. And the other thing that really concerns us is what else is going on in that environment, that family, whatever, because often, as you know, animal abuse is also indicative of further abuse in other areas of their lives.
Yes, it is a predictor, isn't it? Well, it's certainly said that it is. Do you believe it is?
Yeah, absolutely. There's research that's proven it time and time again.
The other thing, Andrea, is if I look at these cases, there are dogs chained up in the backyard. Look, dogs, when they're unhappy, let you know, don't they? So is it fair to assume or conclude that in some cases neighbours must have known that there was a howling, barking, miserable dog next door to them and not have done anything about it?
Yeah, I think it is fair to assume that, but I also think on the positive side that we have had an increased number of complaints over the last year, and I think this is because people are understanding now that it's not acceptable and it's not right, and when they hear things or see things, they're calling us, which I think is really fantastic.
So if your neighbour is a person who owns a dog that is being mistreated, you can call the SPCA and tip you off without the neighbour knowing that that's happened?
Absolutely. Well, of course, we'll treat it confidentially.
Are things improving? Do you think we are getting better generally at caring for our pets?
I think we are getting worse at the moment. People are still realising what is involved in being a responsible pet owner, but I think there's more awareness. So I think we're on the downhill slide to actually change the norm for our community and behaviours.
That's a good thing. Better late than never, I suspect. Can you give us a reminder to end the interview with what is involved in being a responsible pet owner?
It's quite simple. You have to provide food, water, shelter, exercise and enrichment. They love lots of cuddles and being part of that family.
And ideally, if you can't do all of that, you don't own a pet.
Absolutely. Make good choices in your life.
SPCA CEO Andrea Midgen.